Welcome to episode one of the Mindful Haven with our host and the co founder and CEO of Imperium Psychiatric Group, Pierre Aristide. I am very excited to learn a little bit about you today and about your practice and the story behind Imperium. So, thank you for joining today.
And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I know you've had an incredibly diverse journey as a pilot, a combat veteran, CEO. But before we get into all of that, let's rewind. Where were you born and raised? And were either of your parents an entrepreneur or in healthcare?
Well, first, I want to start by thanking you guys for putting this together for Imperium. This is really nice. The Mindful Haven, a sanctuary for better mental health care. Goal is to provide a haven so people can come and actually mental health care issues to be addressed. So, to answer your question, I was born in a small town called Arcahe. It's a small town 45 minutes north of the capital of Haiti, known as Port-au-Prince. It is a place, actually, Alcaide is a place that taught me the value of education, hard work, and resilience. My parents, both of my parents, really had a profound effect on me. My father was an entrepreneur. He was a contractor. He did a lot of interior decorating, painting, and a lot of work for magazine displays. Some of those house the decor magazine that you saw. My father did a lot of those, and my mother worked in a factory that manufactured items for the healthcare industry. Uh, However, they both instilled in me a deep sense of responsibility and a desire to serve other people. While I didn't grow up around healthcare or entrepreneurship per se, but I was always drawn to helping people and finding solutions to complex challenges, which I think laid the foundation for where I am today.
It's amazing. And I know most people who do know you or know of you know that you're a strong leader. But you've also walked through your own mental health journey. Can you take us back to that chapter of your life?
Absolutely. My mental health journey started during my time as a combat veteran, served 27 years in the military. The experiences I faced left a profound mark on me. And for years, I struggled silently with PTSD. At the time, I didn't recognize what I was going through. I just knew I was feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, and constantly on edge. Um, it wasn't until I was assigned during my last tour in the military at the Pentagon. I was assigned to develop the Air Force's health and wellness program called the Resiliency Program at the time. That kind of helped me seek help. I sought help, you know, in a sense that I was able to start the healing process based on what I was learning, based on my discovery throughout developing the program. Again, it provided me the strength to seek help and started the healing process. That chapter of my life really taught me that seeking help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a courageous step towards reclaiming one's life, which is one of the things that we incorporate within the as part of the construct of the mindful haven.
Absolutely. There's definitely strength and courage that goes into asking for help and admitting that and taking that step forward to receive help that's needed. Was there a spark that led you to create Imperium Psychiatric Group, or was there a specific moment where you knew that was your calling?
when I started the process, the healing process, the self discovery, and plus my assignment at the Pentagon, the wheels started turning and the hamster started running fast, and trying to figure out how to help others. But the spark for Imperium came from two places: my personal experience with PTSD and my assignment to develop the program, and also my frustration with the gaps in mental health care at the time when I was trying to seek help. But after struggling with PTSD, I realized how difficult it was to find comprehensive, compassionate care that addressed not just the symptoms, but the whole person. One defining moment when I saw a fellow veteran, somebody I knew, he wasn't a friend, but I knew him, who felt completely hopeless because he couldn't access the care he needed. That's when I knew I really had to do something. And it just happened at the right time because it was after had gone through my personal journey. And I realized, you know what, if I could do this for myself, seeing my friend, I should figure out a way to make it accessible to everybody else. So I wanted to create a space where where people like him and like me could, get the help they deserve without the stigma or barriers.
Absolutely. Navigating the healthcare system, especially mental health, is something that's certainly challenging. I know I've had my experience with that. I'm sure a lot of listeners have had their share of trouble seeking that out and navigating that. And I know you just mentioned, and you often talk about treating the whole person. Can you break down what holistic mental health care really means to you beyond just like the buzzwords?
Sure. To me, holistic mental health care means looking at a person as a whole, not just the symptom, um, not just their diagnosis or, like I said, the symptoms, looking at the entire person. It's about understanding their physical health, emotional well-being, social connections, and even their spiritual needs. Because holistic, when you look at it, it encompasses the entire thing. At Imperium, we combine evidence based treatments like therapy, medication with mindfulness practices, nutrition, and lifestyle changes. We also incorporate specialized therapy in the form of TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, feedback, and soon to be ketamine. It's not just treating the illness, it's about empowering people to live healthier and more fulfilling lives. I mean, to me, that's what holistic approach to mental health care is all about.
Absolutely. And I know you've seen a lot. You've seen combat zones, corporate boardrooms, and clinical exam rooms. But what gives you hope right now when it comes to the mental health in this country?
A lot of things give me hope. What gives me hope really is the growing awareness and conversations around mental health. More people are opening up about their struggles, and there's a push for systematic change. Even now, schools. I mean, you see it now where the dialogue is open, where people are talking about it, and then with the advent of telehealth services becoming more accessible to companies prioritizing employee well-being. It's one thing that we also, incorporate in our program, have relationship and collaboration with corporation, the VA, even schools to help bridge the gap. While we still have a long way to go, I believe this shift in mindset is the first step towards building a society where mental health is treated with the same urgency and compassion as physical health. That
Absolutely, mental health is just as important. And I definitely agree that telehealth has really played a large role in bridging that gap and being able to connect more providers with patients and things of that nature. And exactly as you said, bridging that gap. And every great mission driven company has people behind the scenes who help bring that vision to life. Who were some of the early voices, mentors, or team members that really helped shape what Imperium is today?
I think we've been very fortunate in the entire demographic of people within the mental health, whether it's the patient, employees, mentors, and education. But we've been very fortunate to have incredible team members who believe in our vision from the start, because you can have a vision, you can have a program, but if you don't have people believing in it, and I think if you have people believing in it, it's not gonna be successful. And we've seen that. And I have to admit that it took us a while to figure that out, because communicating your mission and vision is very important to people. And then communicating is one thing, but making sure that they understand it, providing them the tools to support in achieving those goals and meeting your mission goal is very important. The supporters is our current Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Nadia McFarland. Ivy League graduate from University of Pennsylvania, trained at CHOP Children Hospital of Philadelphia. This is her passion. Psychiatry and child psychiatry is her thing. She specializes both in inpatient and outpatient. She has helped, Imperium navigate the challenges of not starting Imperium, but also sustaining it and providing guidance throughout the course of our growth to make sure that we reach our objective. But we also had other amazing clinicians. Right now, we have a staff of nurse practitioners and therapists that are really good at understanding the concept. So, a point I want to make is holistic approach. You can hire the best of the best, but if they don't understand the concept, then it's not going to be successful. So, holistic approach is more like value based healthcare versus fee for services. A lot of people are trained in delivering fee for, clinical solution based on fee for services. And if it's not clearly defined, then you can be talking past each other. So, with the help of Dr. McFarland, our Chief Medical Officer, the program that we have since revamped, we have discovered that navigating those challenges have been very effective. Um, but you also want to hire people who are very passionate about the mission. I mean, they can be great providers, but they have to understand the mission and embrace it. It is truly a team effort, and Imperium will not be where it is today, especially in the last couple of months, without the dedication and expertise of the staff. And part of that, I take responsibility for the first 5 or 6 years for not communicating it correctly, because I was focusing on the future so much so than where we were at the time. And I think we've bridged that gap, and we have a lot of great things that's in the work uh, that people are gonna see soon. And then on top of that too, being educated in the process really makes sense. And the reason why I say that, when we started being in the military, I understand operation. I understand how to develop a process and deliver. I didn't understand the business, both the business and the clinical aspect of it. While Dr. Mark Fallon understood it, but I didn't understand it from the perspective that we needed to understand it to be where we are today. So as a result, I enrolled at Rice University and did an executive MBA in healthcare, the business of healthcare. And also I've been accepted at Harvard to do a master's in clinical service operation. Supposed to be graduating May of 2026. I'm hoping to, with those two, I can actually focus and better define the mission and deliver on that mission and the associated, along with the associated leadership required to make it happen.
Absolutely. That sounds super impressive. And I think it's amazing that you can go and reflect on past things and take those learnings and really apply that to the future. And I think that that's something super valuable within an organization, especially a amazing trait as a CEO to portray for your staff and for members of your team. And I know, Pierre, with your own experience with PTSD, I want to ask you this because a lot of people carry assumptions about PTSD and what it is. But in your view, as someone who has experienced it, what's the biggest misconception that people do have about PTSD?
Uh, from my experience, the biggest misconception about PTSD that I've encountered is that, the misconception is that people think that it only affects veterans or people who've been through extreme trauma. The truth is, PTSD can affect anyone who's experienced something deeply distressing. It can affect anyone who's experienced something deeply distressing. Another misconception is that people with PTSD are broken, or dangerous. When you hear somebody suffer from PTSD, you're thinking like, oh, this person's going to go off and just shoot up the place and kill everybody and all that. It's not true because we all, at some point in our lives, have suffered some degree of PTSD, some more severe than others. Because you could be sitting right here, and if you're from New York, I'm in Texas. We could be sitting right where we are right now, and we turn on the TV and we see something like, for example, 9/11. See a plane going into the building, and it could be so distressing to any one of us that it causes us to um, experience PTSD.
Absolutely. The second that you mentioned that, the first thing that actually popped into my head was 9/11. As a New Yorker, and if anyone who's listening is from New York, that's a form of, I think, PTSD for anyone who lived through that. So I understand where you're coming from in terms of it doesn't need to be a huge trauma, but just a distressing event or occurrence that can impression you in a negative way and cause PTSD.
It's interesting you say that because at the time I was downtown Manhattan when it happened. I watched the second plane go in. I was at the Cortland subway station downstairs at the World Trade Center, and I was on the local 9 because 1 and 9, stopped there. As the local, I was on the 9 train. When I got there, they stopped everyone. They thought a bomb had gone off. And the police officers that was on the platform had everybody stayed on the train. I mean, stayed on the platform, but when it was, must have been there for about 10 minutes. So I was just, and it's funny, not funny, but interestingly, I had a meeting to go to, and I was more concerned about getting to the meeting. As you know, living in downtown, the train stations are really close to each other. You can walk from one station to the next. So I jumped back on the train when the bell went off, and I went to Rector Street, to the next stop, and got out. That's when I saw the flame, the stuff out of the first plane, and then we were trying to figure out what happened. And the second plane came around. It came real low. I could see the belly of the plane. You could see the reflection of the building at the belly, and it went into the building. So I ran back because at that point, being military, I knew it wasn't an accident. It was some sort of an attack. So I ran back, where the big bull on Wall Street was. So I
Mhm.
went there and caught the 5 and 6, the green line uptown. So it's just my story of 9/11. So
No, and it's mhm.
watching that really left me, just left engraved that impression of PTSD in my mind because after watching it on TV over and over, and I always say to myself, I can't believe that I survived that. I mean, not I left long enough before the building came down, but the bottom line is that. But to answer the question is, yeah. So that stigma, it does prevent so many people from seeking help. And PTSD is a human response to trauma. It's not a stigma. It's just a response. And with the right support, people can heal and thrive from PTSD.
Absolutely. And just touching on that, I think it's so interesting how you remember the exact stop and the exact train, because there's something that is often touched on and spoken about, how anyone who lived through 9/11 can remember exactly where they were and what they were doing. And it brings everyone back to that moment. I was still in elementary school and I can tell you every detail as those hours unfolded. So it's definitely just an interesting perspective, and also how such a pivotal moment and a traumatic moment can cause, that traumatic
Yeah,
feeling and
it's
also
interesting.
cause
Mhm.
PTSD.
It's interesting you say that. I never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. I remember it's been what, 24 years since it,
24 years. Wow.
and I still remember every detail of that day. The smell,
Hmm.
the experience from my cell phone. I made one call and after that it shut down because I wasn't able to get through. I remember, the route that I took, from West Street back to Wall Street, seeing the bull. I remember running by the bull on Wall Street, going up
Hmm.
to catch the green line, 5 and 6. I'll never forget that. And I remember getting on the train going uptown because I was going to try to go to Penn Station to catch the LIRR to go back to Long Island. I remember being on the train 5 and 6, and I was looking all distressed, and people were like, they had no idea what had happened because they were on the train. I remember trying to tell them, "Hey, man, plane just hit the World Trade Center," and people looking at me like, thought I was crazy. And I remember saying to myself, "These people have no idea what just happened. They're going about their lives." And then I went up, got to Penn Station. Thank God. See, the thing is, at the time when it happened, people still didn't grasp it. It took about a good 30 minutes or so for people downtown Manhattan, because people saw it on the news. People across America saw it on the news, but most people in Manhattan didn't even know what was happening
Hmm.
until maybe 45 minutes to an hour later.
Right. And depending on where you were and what you were doing also depended on whether or not you found out. For me, example, I was in school, so they didn't tell the kids anything in my school. My sister's school, they told them everything, they put on the news. But
Yeah.
it's just interesting how every detail, like you remember the train line, I remember exactly where I was. And it's just, that's actually such a prime example of what can really cause PTSD. I know people who live through it. It's fascinating that you actually happen to see that in real time. I know my mom was down there, had to walk all the way up to Washington Heights, so a really long walk home. So that's a really prime example,
Yes.
I think,
I
of.
remember that because I had friends, they didn't leave the island on time. And if you waited an hour or two, then everything shut down. And even the city, everybody had to walk. I remember going to pick up, at the time I was dating someone, and I had to go pick them up off of the 59th Street Bridge. So they had to walk from 42nd Street all the way up to 59th Street Bridge, cross the bridge into Long Island City, and pick them up there. I mean, it was wild. It was
It
weird.
was a very, very wild time, and something that left such an impression on so many people across the world, but I think in particular New York City.
Yeah.
And even speaking about that, how that was 24 years ago, which is wild to even think it was that long ago because it seems like just yesterday. But speaking of 24 years ago and your younger self, if you could sit across from your younger self today, the one who was struggling silently with PTSD, what would you tell him?
I would tell him that don't have to carry this burden by yourself. There is no shame in asking for help, and doing so doesn't make you weak. It only makes you strong. Healing is possible, even when it feels out of reach. I would just tell my younger self, just take it one step at a time, one day at a time. That's what I did.
I think that that just as I'm obviously no psychologist or no or anyone that's an expert in that field, but I just know that that takes a lot of strength to be able to come out and ask for help. It's definitely not a sign of weakness. I think it's a huge sign of strength because everyone goes through hard times and there's no need to suffer in silence. There's no need to suffer when, like you said, healing is possible. And sometimes it just takes a medical professional or someone who is well versed to help and take you out of a dark spot. There's so much power in healing and strength in asking for help. What is one message that you would share directly with someone who has been suffering in silence, maybe even for years, and is finally thinking about taking that step and asking for the help that's needed?
My message would be this. Um, you are worthy of help. It's not designated to certain demographic of people. It's not designated for people with certain economic status. It's not designated for certain people with social status. It's designated for anybody, for everybody. Everybody's worthy of healing. And it's never too late to start your journey. And taking the first step is the bravest thing that you or anybody can do, right? So there are people and resources out there to support and that no one has to do this alone. There are people out there who want to support you, or anyone going through this struggle. And you don't have to. And the thing is, you don't have to do this alone. There's no strength in trying to prove that you can do this alone. There's no reward. I mean, it doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't do anything trying to do this alone, because that is what the community, the mental health care community is about, to help each other. You are healing and you're not.
Absolutely. Everyone is worthy of healing and help. And even though I'm sure taking that next step and that not even the next step, just the first step to healing is scary and intimidating. But like you said, there are people that are out there that want to help you. There's a community that is there to help. Everyone's worthy of healing and growing and working on themselves and connecting with the right people who are willing to help you and can make life easier and help you heal. So, as scary as that might be, there is hope on the other side, if you will. There's definitely community and help and the right resources and people to help you heal. And in terms of Imperium, what does success look like for Imperium in, let's say, the next 5 years? And what would make you proud?
Success for Imperium in 5 years mean it's always been our goal is to reach more people, particularly in underserved communities, and continuing to break down the barriers to mental health care. Right. Right now, we have a contract with the VA to service. Initiative that we are pursuing is to propose a way to reach out to serve communities and also rural areas. Right. Um, and then also we are looking to expand in multiple states. Right now, we are gearing to launch in Florida. Right now, we're in Texas, 6 locations, but we're looking to start in Florida, to telemedicine with the entire state. And then as we understand the market better, then what we'll do is some of the specialized therapy that we are offering in Texas, TMS, neurofeedback, ADHD testing. Right now we used to do ADHD testing in-house. Now we can do it. And also we are expanding into Pennsylvania. So by doing that, I think one of the things that, that would help us break down the barriers to mental health care. And I'll be proud if we became a trusted name in holistic mental health care, right? Where people feel seen, heard, and supported. Most importantly, I'll be proud if we help reduce the stigma around mental health and empower people to live a healthier and happier lives. Again, the mindful haven is our concept of operation where people can come in, they leave all their worries outside and come in and take care of their mental health care so they can
Absolutely.
live
I know.
healthier and happier lives.
Absolutely. I know that I will see. I'm very confident that I will see Mindful Haven be more of a help in the community to really help alleviate the stigma around mental health and really make those positive changes. And especially with all this expansion to different states through the help of telemedicine, I'm sure that everything you're commenting on and thinking about in the next 5 years will definitely happen. And I think that everything you're doing is wonderful work, especially when it comes to the stigma around mental health and particularly PTSD and even ADHD as well. Um, I think that I learned so much about you today. So thank you for that. I'm sure our listeners are feeling a little bit motivated and even just impacted by your words and your experience and today's conversation. I know that I am. And I don't know if there's any final words you want to leave with, kind of touch on for our listeners today.
Well, I would like to say this is our first episode, and we have what 24 more to go, and if not more, I'm not sure, but you guys are in charge of that. But my thing is, we want to use this platform to communicate, date, and we also invite people to write their reviews and tell us what's on their mind, how they want to see, and how Imperium can better help them. We are not we don't want people to think that we're doing this. This is not about Imperium. It's about the people that we want to serve. If anybody has any good ideas, in terms of what they want us to actually the type of service that we want to provide, just also we want to talk to providers that are non-behavioral health providers. So you probably don't know this, Layla, but we partner with a lot of clinics, pediatric, family medicine clinics whom we partner with, and we highlight them on our website as partners, and they refer to us just like we refer to them as well. So we're trying to create that ecosystem where people, the holistic approach is not just the physical health, but also have a network within the network, a mental health outlet where you can actually send people to. And we've done that with many practices throughout the state of Texas that we're doing now. And we are hoping to do that throughout as we expand in different states to also establish those collaborative relationships with other practices. We want to provide access to mental health care. Right now, until we have a brick and mortar location in every city, we're just going to continue to deliver the service via telemedicine in as much as possible. So that's where we.
Absolutely. I love that telemedicine has been such a positive influence and really a game changer in the last few years to provide and allow access to people from different states. So that's wonderful. I'm sure by even the end of the year, your expansion and your growth is going to be super impressive. And I can't wait to see it. I'm very excited and fortunate to feel like I am a part of this ride with you. So thank you again so much for leading us through this episode and telling us about you and Imperium. And I can't wait to speak to you next week for episode 2.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.